Hello everyone, it's Karol Jarkowski from Kentico. Once again, I would like to welcome you to our last partner webinar in this year. Those of you who attended the webinar, the recent webinar during last month know that we started to talk about Kentico CMS UI controls, and we basically talk about the UniGrid. And today we're going to cover another heavy used UI control, built-in UI control, and it's called UniSelector. Okay, so let's start with agenda. The agenda is quite simple. As you can see, we will again take a look on the overview, UniSelector hierarchy. We will list all the important members, properties, and events of the UniSelector, along with the examples that I prepared, and we will also cover custom filter development, of custom filter that can be used with UniSelector to filter out data, and then at the end we will have time for your question and answers. So let's start. I'm pretty sure that all of you came across the UniSelector in Kentico UI, because basically Kentico is using UniSelector for almost all kinds of different objects, selecting different objects in a CMS desk or site manager. I've used those three examples that you can find in UI selection dialog for selecting document types or users, or very simple drop-down list, single drop-down list displaying all users, and you can choose from one of those. All those three examples are achieved using the UniSelector, and we will cover setting and configuring UniSelector in such a way that you get the same result. Over here you can see the basic information on the UniSelector. The physical file, physical control UniSelector ASX is located in CMS admin controls UI UniSelector folder. The UniSelector control consists of several inner controls. The usage of those controls depends on the selection mode of the UniSelector. We will talk about the available selection modes in a while. And those controls are the UniGrid that we talk about, several text boxes, localized button, or the drop-down list. As I said, each of those controls has its purpose and is displayed when different selection mode is used for the UniSelector. As long as we using UniGrid in specific selection mode of the UniSelector, you need to define the grid XML definition. If you attended the last seminar, you know that grid XML definition is XML file that specifies behavior and layout of the UniGrid, or functionality of the UniGrid. The important information for the UniSelector is also the object type. The object type means or is represented by class code name. The class code name stands for basically any system object within Kentico CMS. Those objects are based on interface info object interface that provides or encapsulates Kentico system object, so it contains information on queries available for the system object in order to manipulate with the object of the specific type. It contains metadata information on display column for the object, code name of the code name column, relationship with other system objects, and so on. So the one condition that must be matched before you can use UniSelector for displaying objects of certain type is that the specific object has to inherit from info object, and the class representing this object needs to be available in Kentico CMS project. There are two important events related to the UniSelector. It's on item selected event and on selection changed event. There is a difference between those two events in the way when they are fired. We will talk about those in detail later. The selection dialog and filter are on the schema because the selection dialog is part of the UniSelector. Basically, UniSelector contains from two parts: the part that is displaying selected items and the part that's the selection dialog that is used for selecting items that will be displayed by first part. The filter can be plugged into selection dialog, so when you're going to select from available items of certain type, you can filter out those items that you are not interested, or those that users don't want to see. So that's hierarchy or overview of schema of UniSelector, and now we will take a look on particular members. Okay, so there is the first group of properties. As we are going through them, I will switch to Visual Studio and to show you the example how it works. Some of those are clear. Some of those needs more explanation. So I will try to make it clear when we get to some more complex properties. So the first one, additional columns. The UniSelector takes the object type information, as I said, and it uses the queries that are related to this object type to retrieve the information items of this certain type, of this specific type, from the database. It always receives only necessary columns, only those that are required by UniSelector itself in order to display the data and be able to identify the data. It means that by default it only gets the ID of the ID column of a specific object, and it receives display name column of a specific object. In case that you use other functionality, like as you will see, you can specify, for example, the display format of information that will be displayed in selection dialog, the way how the available items are listed in the UniGrid, and you can use macro expressions for setting up your custom display format. So in that case, UniSelector automatically recognizes the columns that needs to be received from the database in order to correctly resolve the macros. But besides that, no other columns are received by default. So if you are, for example, performing some action that requires additional columns to be available, related to the object to be available, you need to specify those in additional columns property. Allow all, as per description, if you are using the single drop-down list selection mode, the single drop-down list selection mode means that only drop-down list is displayed as a UniSelector, and in case you enable allow all, the all value is displayed in the drop-down list. Allow edit text box property allows you to enable text box that is used for displaying the selected items. So the user can eventually modify selected items manually. If I can give you example of that. So first I can show you the single drop-down list, how it looks like. So this is the 5.5 R2 release. Sample site. On the home page I created a simple web part that contains UniSelector, and this web part or the UniSelector within this web part is currently set to single drop-down list selection mode. So you can see we have a drop-down list that is displaying all users in our case, because I have specified that I want UniSelector to display CMS user data class items. So if I switch to Visual Studio, this is my web part that I was talking about. It's a custom user selector. The web part inherits from CMS abstract web part just to be able to use it in a CMS desk, and then I have setup control method where I set up my UniSelector. Just take a look on ASCX file. You can see that I'm registering the control and I'm using it in ASCX file, and in the setup control I'm initializing its properties. The minimum UniSelector settings that are required in order to display, in order to, for UniSelector to work properly, is object type, as I mentioned, so CMS user in our case, and selection mode that you need to initialize to one of available options. The enum contains available selection modes. The multiple mode that displays unigrid for listing selected items, and selection dialog for selecting new items. Multiple button that displays only single button, that when you click the button, new selection dialog pops up and you can select multiple items, and when you confirm the dialog, the items are stored in UniSelector. Then there is multiple text box selection mode that displays a text box where selected items are displayed. There is a button that you can click to open selection dialog again, and where you can select multiple items that are in the end displayed in the text box. The single button is the same as the multiple button, but instead you don't have possibility to select multiple items. Single drop-down list displays the drop-down list as you've seen, and you can select single item in the drop-down list. And then the last selection mode is the single text box mode that displays the text box is multiple text box selection mode, but allows you to select only single item. So let's stay with single drop-down list for now. We will switch those properties that are commented out. We will get back to them later. There is registering for those on items selected and on selection changed events. Those events are fired when the selection changed. Items selected event is fired. Is fired for button selection modes, it means for single button and multiple button selection mode, and the on selection changed even is fired for all other selection modes except those button selection modes. So this is clear, and we will get back to those later as well. So what I wanted to show you is the allow empty option. By default, you can see that the drop-down list contains a none option. If you set allow empty to false, you restrict users from selecting non-defined values, so the none disappeared, and the same works with allow all settings. So let's get back to the list of members. We have covered allow empty. Of course, those default options like empty or all needs to return some value, and you can use non-record value property to specify what will be the value return when this default item default option is selected. The same with all record, so we can specify the value return whether all is selected. Button image can be used with single button or multiple button selection modes. By default, the button modes, if I display for single button mode, for example, display the standard button with some default text that you can hit, and the selection dialog is displayed for you. However, sometimes you don't want the classic button, but display additional image or display image button instead. So in that case, you can do something like this, and you can basically specify the button image property, and that should cause that the button change to hyperlink and the image is displayed next to the button. So you get a consistent feel and look with our other parts of the UI when there are action buttons, like in case of new user, there is an image and there is an hyperlink. Of course, sometimes you may want to have the image instead of link. Right now you can achieve that by a little workaround. So you basically set the button image to some other value as null. So UniSelector internally switch the button, classic button, to hyperlink, and then through the UniSelector property called link dialog. The link dialog represents that hyperlink that is displayed in case button image value is different from null. So you can access the hyperlink and you can set the image URL to specific image. And in that case, you should see the result like something like this. So the hyperlink disappears and the image becomes clickable, and you can use image for displaying the selection dialog. So I will comment this out again, and let's get back to the list of properties. The dialog window height, dialog window width, and dialog window name are three different properties that can be used to control information about displayed selection dialog. As you can see, whenever you display the selection dialog, it's a modal dialog, so it obviously has its own name and some width and height, so you can control the width and height, and also the pop-up dialog name. So in case you are using multiple UniSelectors displaying selection dialog, you can assign unique name for each of those, and you will avoid complication with modal dialogues. As you know, when there are when a new modal dialog is open, when there is already opened modal dialog with the same name, the content is reloaded and is overwritten, so you can use the dialog window name to avoid this situation. We are getting to the display name format property that I mentioned. As I mentioned, you can use the display name format to control the format of items in the selection dialog list. You can use macro expression in format that you are used to with context macros. You specify the column name, and the UniSelector automatically receives values for this column and replace the macro on the runtime. Let's take a look on example. So right now you can see that the users in the selection dialog are displayed using the display name column. In this case, in case of users, it should be the full name column. So the full name is used to identify users in the selection dialog. But as long as I'm going and I'm going to define the display name format to full name and email, for example, those are two columns of the CMS user table. So the table that is primary for objects of CMS user data class. I can see that when I refresh the UniSelector and I display the selection dialog, the new display name format is used, and you may notice that I haven't specified additional columns in order to be able to use those columns in macros. The UniSelector did for me. Edit item page URL, that's very interesting, I would say very interesting feature of the UniSelector. It allows you to specify the URL, the target URL that will be used for single text box or single selection mode UniSelectors. Whenever the button, whenever you click the edit button displayed, once you specify edit item page URL, the target page will be open, and you can use this page to edit selected item. This feature is used, for example, in when you are selecting transformations in a CMS desk. If you take a look on some transformation, some configuration of some repeater web part or viewer part in general that is using transformations, you will see you will see that with the transformation, this is UniSelector as well, and with you can either select some transformation or directly edit it from within the UniSelector. So very similarly, if I go to our examples and I'll set edit item page URL to the page that is used for editing users in Site Manager in user administration section. I can use the item ID macros in this format, and the item ID macro will be replaced for value of the selected item. So I can go ahead, I can change the selection mode, for example, to single text box. I have defined the edit item page URL, and now when I display the UniSelector now, you can see that there is a new edit button displayed. I can select a particular user, let's say Manda, and when I hit edit, you can see that the page specified in edit item page URL gets opened with item ID macro replaced for actual value of item ID. So that way you can display edit dialog for item directly from UI, from the UniSelector. Alright, so okay, let's move forward. There is edit window name property, very similar to dialog window name property, is used to specify the unique name of the dialog modality dialog to avoid complications. Enabled column name, that is a property that is used only by single drop-down list selection mode. When you specify the enabled column name property to a column that is of Boolean type, so contains values like true or false. For example, user enabled in case of users. Whenever the value of this column is false, option in the drop-down list got assigned drop-down item disabled CSS class that you can use to differentiate between enabled or disabled items. It doesn't have any influence on functionality. You can use it for, give a user some kind of visual possibility to differentiate between items that might be used or might not be used. It's up to you then to validate the selection in the code behind of your UniSelector when the user selects disabled item to display an error and so on. We are getting to the filter control property. It's used to define the path to the physical ASX control that inherits from a CMS abstract based filter control class, and this control will be loaded in the selection dialog and will allows you to filter items in the selection dialog. I will show you how the such user control can be developed. Right now I will just demonstrate how it works. So if I want to select some other user right now, you can see that there is only default name filter displayed in the title of the selection dialog. So I can go ahead and change the UniSelector configuration. So I will first I will specify the path to the filter control. This is path to the my custom UniSelector filter that I will show you at the end of this webinar. And in addition, I can turn off the default name filter. So I want to display only my custom filter control in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit select now. And you can see that the title changed. The default filter disappeared and my custom filter is displayed. I can filter using name or username or user email. So for example, if I search only for Amanda, for name, username Amanda, you can see that that only single item is displayed. As I said, we will get back to implementation of custom filter in a few minutes. So that's the way how you can include your custom control or custom filter in a UniSelector. I will reverse my changes. All right. So the grid name information property is binded to the UniGrid that is used for multiple selection mode. The grid name is path to the XML configuration file used for the UniGrid displaying selected items. To give you an idea, you can go to your custom UniSelector web part. You change the selection mode to multiple items, a multiple selection mode, and if you don't change or don't specify the grid name, the default grid definition will be used, and the default grid definition displays selected item in exactly same way that are displayed by the selection dialog. So I can select multiple items, and you can see that new items are added to the selection dialog and displayed in the form that is defined for selection dialog. However, if I go ahead and I change the grid definition and specify the grid name, I'm using existing grid definition, and it's used for a list of users waiting for approval. If I could show you how it looks like, you can see that it displays several columns and 2 actions, and as long as it displays as it use non-standard, it means not only item ID and item display name columns for displaying the content. You need to make sure that all columns that are used for as a source for grid cell definition are defined as additional columns in additional columns property of the UniSelector. Otherwise, you would receive an exception complaining about missing information when data would be binded to the UniGrid. So now, when I when I save changes and I display the UniGrid selection, multiple selection items, you can see that new format is used to display the items. So that's the purpose of grid name. Icon path, you can specify the path of the icon that is displayed in title, selection dialog, items per page. This is used by UniGrid, displaying items over here. If I specify the items per page, over here to be 4, and I go ahead and I select one more or a few more, you can see that the grid displays only 4 of them, and I can use the pager to switch before selected items. Localized items property is useful in case that you want to use localization macros in name or localization macros in values for columns displayed by selection dialog. So for example, let's take the global administrator in here. What you can see in the list here is global administrator OK text displayed for global administrator full name. But if you take a look in definition of the administrator user, you can see that the full name is defined as general, or using the general OK macro. So the selection dialog is actually resolving the localization macros in the columns used in selection dialog. If you want to suppress this feature, you can set the localized items to false, and now when you open the selection dialog, you should be able to see you should be able to see the localization macro instead of actual value. So let's say select the global administrator. And well, it seems like it doesn't work right now, but I guess I'm just running the version that doesn't support. This is early build, so maybe it doesn't work in this early build. I will check it, and in case that this might be an issue, I will make sure that it's fixed. Okay, so we are getting closer to the end of the members, list of members. The max displayed items, this is information used by single drop-down list selection mode. If you take a look closer on the UniSelector displaying the single drop-down list selection mode. Okay, I need to make sure that the UniSelector contains only single value. So the error I've got is related to the fact that in the database there are stored multiple values for UniSelector, and as long as I switched the selection mode during the runtime, it causes the error because the single drop-down list selection mode can handle multiple values. But anyway, if I display single drop-down list selection mode, you can see that even there is so many users available in a system. There is definitely more than 25. In the drop-down list displays only those first 25 users, and others are not available at first sight. But if you take a closer look, there is more items option displayed in the drop-down list that you can use to bring up the selection dialog. And if you select some object in a selection dialog that wasn't present in a drop-down list before, you can see that this item is added to the end, or at the end of the available options. This feature is important for scalability because one of the advantages of UniSelector is not only that it allows you to easily build selection dialogues for info objects, but it's also features strong scalability capabilities, so only really necessary amount of data is pulled out from database and used for displaying the information. New item page URL. New item page URL is exactly same purpose as edit item page URL, but instead of displaying edit dialog for object, you display and you bring up the modal dialog that allows you to create a new item from a UniSelector directly, and this item will become available afterwards. So let's say for users I would use, just checking whether I have defined, yeah, it's over there. So if I switch the selection mode to single text box, for example, and I specify the new item page URL, I can refresh the selection dialog. I can hit a new button and you can see that the dialog for creating a new item of this certain type is displayed to me. Alright, so we are getting to the object type. As I mentioned, the object type takes the data class. It has to be data class because the information in data class is used by UniSelector to retrieve the information from database. It's full code name of the data class, so CMS user, CMS role, or any other data class. The order by can be used for ordering items displayed either in list of selected items or in the selection dialog. Remove confirmation is property that can be used for specifying the confirmation message before the item is removed from UniSelector. The resource prefix property allows you to specify the prefix for that will be used for resource strings. It's useful when you want to localize or when you want to use different text for different elements of the UniSelector used by UniSelector. So you specify the resource, and whenever the localized string will be retrieved from database, the following format will be used for you. There is a list of string keys that are used, so you can, based on the information on these string keys, you can go to site manager, development, UI cultures, and you can create new localization strings for specific culture using given keys. So there is a list of all the keys. You can go through them when you download the presentation. The return column name property is used to specify value of which column will be returned by UniSelector when you ask for selected items. So by default it's object ID column, but you can change it, and you can use your custom column. The selection mode, there is a list of available selection modes. We have already covered those, so we can review them later. The special fields property is used by single drop-down list in case that you want to display your custom item in the single drop-down list selection mode. You can use special fields property. Special fields property is populated in the following way. You just need to pass a new two-dimensional string array where the first item is used as a item text and the second one is used as item value. If I switch to single drop-down list right now, I refresh, you can see that there is a new item option displayed, and the new item is actually the item that I specified in a string array. So it works like that. There are few others. The use default name filter property, as you've seen, is used to turn off default name filter displayed in the title of the selection dialog. The value is contains either information on single item or multiple items. In that case, the multiple items are separated by semicolon by default, or if you specify value separator by your custom character. So you use the value to access the selected items or to access the items selected in selection dialog. The where condition can be used to explicitly filter out items from selection dialog. If you want to restrict users to select only certain amount or certain items based on information on current user or whatever, you can use a where condition, and the zero rows text. It's the same purpose as with other Kentico controls. In case there are no data displayed, you can use this property to specify your custom text. So those are members, and we are getting to the events. On item selected and or selection changed events, as I mentioned, those events differs in what selection modes fire them. So the first one on item selected is fired by button selection modes, while the selection changed is fired by other selection modes. We are finally got to the custom filter development part. Before I show you how the custom filter might be defined, might be developed, I would like to show you how the UniSelector, or how your custom web part based on the UniSelector might look like. So as I mentioned, I have a web part that follows the rule that the web part needs to inherit from CMS abstract web part. My UniSelector basically stores or creates relationship between the selected user and the current document, and it stores this relationship information in a custom table. So I have created a custom table that contains only two custom fields, the user ID and document ID, and I'm using this custom table to store the information on selected relationships. So when I select some user in the single drop-down list, I would like to see new relationships stored in a custom table. But as you will see, the information is created within the custom table. So how it works? I have initialized the UniSelector the following way as we covered. I have registered for on selection changed event, and on item selected event, as long as I'm displaying single drop-down list selection mode, I'm handling creating relationship non-selection changed event. I have update relationship method available, where I first remove all old relationships for the current document, and then I create new relationships. I'm not sure if you are familiar with how to work with custom tables, so I just want to show you that the new relationship is created using custom table item class, custom table item object that you initialize using the code name of your custom table and providing the custom table item provider. The custom table item provider is used to access the database for the custom table. So you just specify the values. Those are the fields defined in custom table, and you store the information. So that's my custom UniSelector web part. What I wanted to mention is that you may notice that I have registered a few other events. For example, the UniGrid on action event. By default, the information displayed in the UniGrid. I just need to switch the UniSelector to multiple selection mode. So when I select multiple items, those items are displayed using the UniGrid. If I would not register for UniGrid on action event, doesn't matter if I would click on the action button in the UniGrid, nothing would happen because UniSelector doesn't handle UniGrid actions. That's why if you take a look on some other members available for the UniSelector, you will find UniGrid member that can be used to access the UniGrid used for list all the selected items. Similar, there are other members representing buttons displayed by UniSelector available. So you can access the button, particular button, and you register for click event of a certain button, and you react on the action fired by this button. By default, UniSelector doesn't handle those for you. So whenever you, let's say, like in my case, in our case, I want to react on button clear event. So if I display not multiple selection mode but let's say multiple text box selection mode, so you can see that I can go ahead and I can select multiple items. The IDs are displayed, and now the information or the relationship between those users and document were created in the database. When you want to clear the relationship, you hit the clear button. If I would not register the button clear click even, the UniSelector would clear the text box, but in the background the relationship would not be removed. So that's why I register for this even, and here I have a remove alt relationship method that handles removal of those items for me. Okay, so yeah, it's it's the same with button remove selected and the click even for this button. Okay, so I think I have mentioned everything related to the default members and the functionality that you should be aware of. And now we can take a look on that custom filter control before we move to answering your questions. So let's display that custom filter control using the filter control property. Right, so when I display the selection mode, selection dialog, you can see the custom filter. I have two drop text box and one button that fires filtering event. And when we take a look on actual control, okay, it's over here. So this is ASCX definition, as you can see, and this is code behind file. In the code behind file, first thing, as mentioned on the slide, the first thing is that you need to let the control inherit from CMS abstract base filter control, and then you need to override the where condition property that is accessed by UniSelector whenever a selection dialog should be displayed or is reloaded. So the where condition is important there, and then you just set the filter control property for your UniSelector, and that's the whole steps that you need to go through. So you can see CMS abstract base filter control inheritance. You can see the where condition override. I'm using the get where condition method for supplying the filter where condition. If you take a look at the definition of the method, you can see that the only thing I'm doing here is I retrieve the value of from the text boxes, and I treat the SQL injection, replacing the single quote for double quotes, and I return the complete where condition that I want to use to filter out data. The filtering is fired, as I said, on a click event for the display button. In here, the important thing is update the where condition and raise on filter changed event. The raise on filter changed method that is responsible for firing on filter changed event is part of the CMS abstract base filter control. So that's one of requirements why you need to inherit from this base class, and that will ensure that UniSelector is registering for on filter changed event. So when you raise this event, UniSelector noticed that something probably changed. It receives updated where condition and reloads itself. So this is the custom filter, and basically that concludes today's presentation. I would like to give you space to express your opinion and hit me with the questions. So for the next few minutes, let's wait for your questions, and we will answer them accordingly. So actually there were two questions already submitted. So let me bring it on. Well, I'm not sure whether I'm able to copy out those. Right, it seems. Right, okay. So the question is following. So how do you support using a single drop-down list that has allow none to true, but you want the user to select a value other than 0? I'm thinking specifically about the country selector and using in a form where I want the response to be required. Well, I guess that what you want to do is to have a none option displayed in the drop-down list as a default value selected by default, but you don't want to allow a user to store this information in a database or to select this item. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But otherwise, that's what I try to mention at the beginning. That as long as you know that the allow none. Okay, I'm right. Great, thanks. So if as long as you know that the default value of allow none option would be 0, you can implement isValid method in a code behind and check this whether the selected item is different from 0 or from none option or not. So to give you an example, let's say that this is a web part that is using that has UniSelector that is displaying users, and I don't want a user to select or visitor to select particular user. So there are two options. The first one is that I can create a custom method over here that will return bool. Let's call it isValid. And this method will check for the value, for the currently selected value, and in case that the value is something that you don't want to select, you will either display JavaScript info message, or you will display the error message at the top of your web part or whatever. So that's the one option. To do that on a save, when let's say that in my case I have also included the save button in here, but in the end I haven't used the save button to store the information, because instead of that I decided to update the information on the relationship whenever the selection change. But let's assume that you will have a save button that you will use to store information, to collect information from visitor and store it in the database. In that case, in click even of the save button, you would check the value, and if the value is not what you expect, you would simply break saving process, and you would display message instead. So I guess that important information for you is this. Whenever you access this UniSelector value property, you will get the information on currently selected items. So if it's 0, you would have a condition here, and that's all. So there is no built-in handling for this scenario in UniSelector. Instead, it's up to you how you would handle it. You have information on selected item, and it's up to you how you would treat it. And the second question was whether this webinar and other webinars are available for on-demand replay. I'm sure that they are not available for on-demand replay. What you can do, you can download it from a partner portal. If you are Kentico partner, and you obviously are because you are watching this webinar, you can access the section in a partner portal where all the past webinars recordings as well as PowerPoint presentations are placed, so you can download it and and replay it. However, we are planning to release or to we scheduled to bring a new portal soon, and there will be whole new section on the portal, on the Kentico portal, where I believe that also the streaming should be supported. So in that case, you would be able to stream or on-demand replay the video. Okay, so there are no other questions. So I believe we could end this webinar. I would like to thank you for your attendance. I really appreciate that you find time to spend hour with me talking about Kentico UI controls. As I said, this is the last webinar this year. I hope this year was a huge success for you and your business, and that we will get a chance to talk about other interesting stuff in Kentico CMS next year as well. So I would like to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and hope to talk to you again next year. So thank you once again, and next time.